because of the Leicester Hindutva thug clashes, and you were defending Muslims there. You went on the street. So has this smear campaign mostly died down?
It has died down. I think it started to die down. The defamation laws in this country are much more strict than I think in America. Because one time I tried taking someone to court in America for defamation of character, and the quotes that I got from the solicitors and stuff was kind of astronomical. It's like, you got to pay $100,000 for this, and you're not guaranteed anything. And the constitutional rights for freedom of speech are very strong in America. In England, they're not as strong in the sense that it's pretty easy to win a defamation of character case. So I've taken, I'm still today I was speaking to my solicitor, in fact, about my case, and we've added another person into it because I'm taking 3 of them to court, 3 papers to court, and now I'm taking Douglas Murray himself to court himself. I wanted to, if we're going to do it, I might as well just do it, go all guns blazing. So that's, for me, I feel like that's the only way to stop it. In the UK, it's an effective strategy. Because they'll be forced to, hopefully be forced to offer an apology, which they've done in the past, in fact, with Sheikh Haytham al-Haddad. I'm not sure if you've heard of him. He's quite well known in the UK. So they've had to apologize to him before, and in other cases, they've had to remunerate. Now, I'm not expecting a remuneration, but yeah, so I'll be working on that case and, in the background, the legal case. But the fight is not just an intellectual one; it's a legal one. It's an intellectual one. It's a sports one, like you said. It's the victory we have to try and win everywhere, and as comprehensively as possible. But certainly, it was difficult to deal with it. To be honest with you, because it was multifaceted. I had to deal with the legal aspects. I had to deal with the PR aspects. Muslim Skeptic was very instrumental. In fact, it was the first time I realized the influence of Muslim Skeptic when I saw that your article came up and many people were citing it and stuff with the Muslim Skeptic article. In fact, I was very surprised to find, because we've got these people in the background for us in the UK as well, who deal with the rankings of websites and the traffic that goes. And I think, from what I understand, Muslim Skeptic, if you compare it with all of its quote-unquote competitors, is actually probably one of the best, one of the highest in terms of viewership, readership, and stuff like that. And so I was very surprised. I had no idea that Muslim Skeptic was doing so well on that front. And the fact that even, for example, the article that was written in defense of the brothers in Leicester, including myself, which I'm grateful for, it went very high in terms of even the search kind of accreditation on Google and stuff like that. And this is exactly what we need. I mean, I think this is, this is exactly what we need. We need more and more Muslim people that are willing to, write pieces and to fight back in the media campaigns against us, because they've got their narratives and we have our own narratives. And it's a battle of narratives, and it's a battle of the minds. And so it's helped me, to be honest with you. I see it as a blessing, because it's made me realize that the complexity of the fight that we're facing. We're facing a fight against think tanks, against organizations, against figures, against the media. And that's why it's so important that Muslim people come together, especially people like us who are in the dawah trying to promulgate Islam, promote it, that we all come together and really have each other's backs, which unfortunately, when people become maybe successful or influential, as I'm guessing you're facing at the moment, you start to feel some criticism from the brothers, the Muslim brothers and stuff, with all kinds of pretenses. But unfortunately, that's another thing which we have to deal with, which, in fact, quite frankly, the Prophet ﷺ dealt with it.
So nice,
in his ranks, and all the prophets dealt with it. And so it's an expected thing. But the main point to note with that is that I think that when the Muslims come together and they have a counter narrative, whether it's through the media, we started something called critical content news. It's not as popular as Muslim Skeptic or as consistent, but it's just an attempt, to also get involved in this kind of thing. So yeah, it's taught us a lot. And subhanallah, as the Arabs and actually this is a concurrent saying, they say al-haja ummul ikhtira', which is that necessity is the mother of all invention. Sometimes when you're pressured to do something, when the enemy puts you on the back foot, you become most genius then. You know, the genius is awakened at that time when you're put in the back foot because you're forced through necessity to think of the best options. And so in these kinds of things, the enemy is only making us stronger. They're sharpening our blade, I think.
Yeah. So speaking of narrative, I heard that you had been invited to be interviewed by Piers Morgan, right? And you turned that down, right? So what was your thought process on that?
Before Abdullah Andalusi and Dili Hussein, both people I know quite well, they went on that show, and both of them reported back to me. In addition to actually quite recently, Andrew Tate going on there, and all of them reported that there was distortion. That a big chunk of the interviews that Piers Morgan done with them has actually been removed. Now, for me, one of the worst things is that you can distort something. So, for the way I've always had it is that if I'm debating somebody, or if I'm going against, they have their own right to record, and I have my own right to record. So, for example, when I went with the BBC some time ago on the Palestine issue, a guy called Tom Brady, the producer on the BBC, he wanted me to come and speak. I said to him, I'll do so on the basis that I can record myself, and he allowed me to record myself. The same thing with Channel 4. So I did it on the basis that I could record myself. And that is my policy. Piers Morgan has his own studio, and he's got his own editors, and he's got his own distortion methods. And he makes it unfavorable for the interviewee. And you know what he's going to do? He's telegraphed his punches with me. I know what he's going to do. He's had my colleagues on before, and he's barraged them with leading questions. Even with Andrew Tate, he barraged him with leading questions. He doesn't give you a fair chance, and I think the dynamic is fundamentally unfair. If Piers Morgan wants to engage us, then he should do so on a topic where we are allowed to speak to him, and he's allowed to speak to us. He's allowed to interrogate us, and we're allowed to interrogate him. That it's on those kinds of basis. Otherwise, he's going to bring this false image that he is the white savior that is bullying this Muslim guy and getting him to apologize and these kinds of things. And you can imagine how that would look in a general sense to the people in the public. So number one, because he distorts things. Number two, because he doesn't, from my understanding, his policy doesn't allow us to record simultaneously as he's recording. And number three, because the structure is fundamentally unfair. So for me, I don't need 15 minutes of fame on his channel. It's not about trying to garner that kind of clout, because that would be negative and it would put us on the back foot. I've been invited to many things. It's not just Piers Morgan. There's many different things which I've turned down, in the past, especially with broadcasters, because we know what they're trying to do. Broadcasters have their own narrative, they have their own editorial methods, and the beauty and the amazing thing about having a social media account, as I and you do, and for example, the Dawah guys, alhamdulillah, we all have it, is that we can set our own narrative, and we can have our own voice. We don't need to be at the mercy of those guys anymore.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. So when it comes to your Dawah in general, one of the big components of that is being on the street and interacting with people, whether it's in Hyde Park or in Leicester. But there's always risk being on the street. Anything can happen. There's a lot of risks involved with that. So in all of these years of you being on the street doing Dawah, Hyde Park and elsewhere, was there any point that you ever felt in danger, like any real danger?
Yeah, of course. To be honest with you, we're living in London, and the thing is, because London is it's densely populated with Muslim people. I think there's about 1.3 million Muslims just in London alone, of like an 8 or 9, maybe 10 million overall population. So there's a lot of Muslims, and unfortunately, there is, I don't mean this as a hidden threat, but many of the gangs in the UK, in London, are actually populated with Muslims from different places, from the Somalia, from the Black Brothers, or from the Asian or white, whatever it may be. And so, and by the way, illegally, it's not illegal to be part of a gang in the UK, in London. I'm not saying I'm not advocating it. It's not illegal to be part of a gang. It's
Mohammed Hijab advocates gang violence.
Clearly. I'm just saying it's because I looked into this thing. But the point is, because of that fact, almost every area I go in London, whether it's North London, West London, South London, and definitely East London, right, that I don't feel that level of fear as I would if I was in a place which didn't have that. Because number one, Muslim communities all around London probably know who I am. Even if they didn't, there's a level of, okay, these guys are, religious guys, leave them, let them do their thing. They're not about that life. They're not on the road, kind of thing. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Or even if they are Muslims, there's a level of camaraderie there and backup that you get, whether it's from those guys or from anybody else. So from that perspective, I'll be honest, I don't feel that level of fear. However, there have been altercations. There have been altercations, physical altercations, some of which have been online, where I've been beaten by a group of EDL guys and stuff, and I had to go to court and stuff like that, try to get remuneration, which I didn't get, but the guy, got a criminal record. And some of them haven't been online, and you can never be too prepared in London, because it's a game of weapons, and as we started off by talking about, it's asymmetrical. You can't carry even a penknife, you can't carry anything, and the 14-year-old can carry a Rambo knife, and the issue is that no matter how big you are or how trained you are, actually, to be honest, if someone has a big Rambo knife and you don't have that, 9 out of 10 times you will lose that altercation. You will lose that because it's too much of an advantage, and I've seen it too many times where people that you would not expect to win an altercation otherwise, because they have this advantage of a huge jagged weapon, they'll beat you. And so if you try your best to circumnavigate, there's things that you can buy which are legal. For example, there's something called UV spray, which is good especially for women. You put it in your pocket, the person comes, you spray their faces. You can get this. You can get it online. You spray their face, because that's the best thing you can do. If someone's got a big knife, you spray their face and run away. That is the best thing. If you don't have something you can defend yourself with, then it's not worth it. And nowadays people are fighting each other for mobile phones and watches and shoes and stuff like that. So that's probably more of a fear for me. Some gangs operate in a very malicious way, and you have to always, and for my children, because I've got 3 children as well, growing up and stuff, I don't want them to grow up in that environment, to be honest with you. So I fear more for, my children and for other people than I do for myself. I do feel a little bit protected because I kind of know how things work. However, it's always going to be dangerous,
How old is your oldest?
Almost 9, actually. My daughter,
mashallah.
yeah, my
That's
daughter's
close
almost
to me.
9.
My oldest is 10.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's almost 9, and I've got 6 and 3, so 3, 6, 9.
Mashallah. Yeah, that's similar. I have 10, 8, 7, 4.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
you got 4, yeah? So
Yeah.
let's do a competition now. Yeah. So we have to see what you can do. But yeah, no, it's that's good. So inshallah, if we come to America, then, or you come to London, you can see my children, or
Yeah,
your kids
they'll
can
have a
see my
good
kids.
time. They're all in the same age group. They can have a good time.
You haven't come to London before, have you?
Only to Heathrow Airport.
Oh, no. You need to
This
come. I think a
connection.
lot of people will know who you are, and a lot of people appreciate what you're doing there in America. I think you've got more of a London style, maybe. Your style is more suited for London.
Maybe, inshallah. We'll see. Speaking of style,
Yeah.
you're mentioning self-defense, and I know that you're a fan of the martial arts. Here's a question for you, a fun question. If you could liken your debate style to a martial art, what would it be? Would it be kung fu or jujitsu or boxing?
Oh, that's another interesting. Um, how I actually fight is different to how I debate. By the way, it's completely different because I'm quite tall and I've got a long reach. So the way what would make sense for me is to keep the person away with a jab and these kinds of things, and then obviously I got a grappling background. So, however, I think with my debates, people don't realize that there's a lot of counter punching going on. Like, I think with you're a forward fighter. You